Welcome to Destination Linux, the show where we boldly geek out over open source each and every week. Because in a galaxy full of closed systems, Linux is still the rebel alliance we all root for. I'm your host, Ryan, flying the controls this week, joined by the one and the only Jill. Jill is our resident vintage tech wizard and code whisperer who can make a 30-year-old Amiga sing opera. You ever done that, Jill? You ever made one sing
actually,
opera?
I know how to make an Amiga make music.
I love it. And today we have such a special guest. So the way we do this is we record the interview and then we went back and we're recording the intro now. So we've already experienced this incredible interview. And when I tell you, this is one of just a really special person, Yuning Liang, of CEO and founder of DeepComputing, stepping aboard to take us on a journey from the company's earliest days to the bleeding edge world of RISC-V laptops, open hardware, and what this could mean for the future of Linux and truly free computing, and what it means for humanity. There is a lot of philosophical discussion in here as well. It's just an amazing interview. So buckle up, sync those repos, grab your favorite beverage, whether that's coffee, tea, or a suspiciously glowing blue energy drink, and let's explore the next frontier together. This is Destination Linux.
Make it so.
For years, the Linux community has enjoyed the ultimate freedom in software, but we've always been guests in someone else's house when it comes to the hardware. Whether it's x86 or ARM, the brain of our computers have remained a black box until now. Today's guest is the man behind the ROMA, the world's first RISC-V laptop, and the innovator currently partnering with Framework to bring modular, open architecture computing to the masses. He is literally building the future of Linux desktop, in my mind, from the silicon up. Please welcome the founder and CEO of DeepComputing, the man leading the painstaking push for hardware sovereignty, Yuning Liang. Welcome to the show.
Yay.
Hi.
Well,
Hi,
listen,
everyone.
we want to, first of all, thank you for all the work that you're doing with RISC-V. But before we get into all of that, I want to kind of get some information on your origin story. Because when I was looking up on the internet, I saw that you had a very successful career at massive tech companies that maybe a lot of people dream to work for, Nokia, Samsung, those type of things. So let's go back to the beginning, and I want to find out, why did you leave that security of a big company like that to start a hardware company?
First of all, my first company I work for is called Xerox. I think Xerox it is very famous to have
Xerox.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah, Xerox have everything themselves. Even Apple or Steve Jobs went over to copy stuff.
Yes.
So I was at first fascinated, when I joined Xerox, and at that time, and we start learning all the RISC CPUs, and at that time I never think about that I would get involved one architecture that so open. And back in Xerox, everything they make themselves is very close source company, the one of the biggest tech companies. And then to Nokia, to Samsung, even later on in Huawei, all my career is pretty much very close. And they're all a hardware company. It's just the way it is. But my expertise has always been software. And after the COVID, I finished my first start. I sold it, and then I was looking into what to do. And then all my friends back in that time is from MIPS. They all joined RISC-V foundation at the time to go RISC-V International, and approached the end of the COVID, and they all asking, and can I help in our RISC-V hardware? And then recently, I just post back the the email screenshot then back in 2020, 22, and the RISC-V International CTO used to be MIPS guy as well back in the 80s. And then I said, Yuning Shenzhen, can you do a laptop? Can you do a laptop on a test chip on RISC-V 12 nanometer? I think, wow. I said, wow, it's 12 nanometer is one of the best, one of the best manufacturing node from TSMC. So in Shenzhen, they were good in hardware, but I was in the software side. But I got to know, because of my software startup, I got to know most of the chipset vendors in China, because I trying to sell my solution, a security solution, compiler-based statistical analysis to them. I got to know most of the boss, and then they're asking their opinion. They say, yeah, it's very easy in Shenzhen if you want to do a laptop, because we know most of those old, we call it ODM, OEM guys. They do the laptop for Lenovo, Nokia, or Samsung, or wherever, It's very easy. So, and then I thought it's that easy. That's why, I can do it. So I can help on it. And it was a great journey. That is the reason I got into RISC-V. And before, I've been not much of thinking about RISC-V until I join in and understand more, and then reflect it.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's my answer to why I got into a hardware company on RISC-V.
Aw, cool. So, Yuning, before the laptops, you built RISC-V drones and RC cars? That's really interesting. Why were these so important for learning how to build a real computer?
Oh, and I think building cars and drones using RISC-V MCU is a matter of fact for me to learning.
Nice.
How hard is to make RISC-V into a mass produce electronics, and I think it's very easy for people to understand. To make RISC-V into MCU is much more easier, because it will much more cost efficient, because you can avoid arms, whatever policy, whatever of loyalty or license onto all the small chips. It is so easy to make small chips like MCU. But I still find it hard that for those area that my friends make, for example, the RC car and drones, they still use long before, like ESP or ST micros MCUs. And because of all the tool chain and all the development environment and whatever, and then so for me to become a religious guy, and I say, if I do a laptop in RISC-V, and for the beginning, I had no idea why I did it, but I gradually understand why doing a laptop for RISC-V. And while I push more my friends around me that adopt RISC-V as much as I can, and because for our RC car business, actually is a very good business, and it's not a money losing business like laptop. And laptop is very good house. It's the damn very good house, and it's actually very competitive using RISC-V in the MCU space. That's why we can ship billions every year. That's what we claim that RISC-V is. It's real, not just PowerPoint. But for making laptop is really hard, and I've for my I had a thinking when I was serious to start putting more effort onto the laptop. For example, we make how many generations are 1, 2, 3. At least 3 generations of laptop. I never regret that we start with laptop because in the consumer electronic worlds and very complex laptop. So I know it's going to be money losing for a few generations. I mean, on making that, but I said, why don't we make something fun? Making the drones on this fire, and you can play around with it on some RC cars, one of the best, and also probably most expensive RC car in Amazon's, and in their quality and size. So that's the reasons. And doing hard things while instead of doing some fun things that
it's
keep us alive.
Yeah, you got to have some fun with it. And I think, a lot of people, when you talk about RISC-V, which maybe we need to even start from the beginning for those who may be new to the concept. So tell me how I do on this, Yuning, and fill in any gaps. But really, you have x86 out there, and this is what everybody knows today. This is your AMD, these are your Intel CPUs. And that is all those instruction sets. You can't go create an Intel and AMD clone if you want, because all of that is proprietary. And then you have ARM. And ARM comes in and they say, hey, you can buy an ISA from us, instruction set architecture for a CPU. But those are also, right, closed. You can't really, and you've got to pay licensing fees for all of that. And then you have RISC-V. And RISC-V is basically saying, hey, the ISA, the architecture for a CPU, you can close source it if you want, but most of the people doing stuff with RISC-V are keeping it completely open. There's no licensing fee with it. And the standard design, I believe, was initially designed in Berkeley. And basically, you can do anything with this. You can, just like any other CPU, you could do drones, you can do RC cars, you can do computers, you can, your desktop computer, your laptops, those type of things. That's what we're talking about when we talk about RISC-V. Did I get that right, Yuning? Did I do a good job on that?
Yeah, I think one thing which is very different from all other architecture before is it didn't own by a company or by an individual or by government, and it's pretty similar to Linux kernels. So,
yeah.
And before I joined the restart journey, I didn't think that much. I didn't think that is the most influential character that restart have. People can imagine, back in the school, like a high school, if someone wants to make the RISC-V MCU, it's pretty easy. You go on to the RISC-V International, read about their standard, and then some of the sample IP, CPU IP, and some of the open source CPU IP as well. You can just a little high school kid, you can make the RISC-V MCU. For x86 and now literally it's impossible.
Interesting.
Right? The reason being is that you they don't even know who to talk to get x86 license. Probably legal will take them 3 years, finish the high school to do anything. And same to ARM, it's not easy to get a license. of ARM without going through all the legal pain. So that's one of the beauty, exactly the same as the Linux kernel back in the 90s, and people trying to get hold of Unix source code or Windows source code. Literally, it's impossible. So that is no good for kids. For the next generation to learn something earlier about CPU architectures. That's one of fundamental difference. So it's free.
That's a good point.
Yeah. People, and up to now the politics in the whole global political environment is getting so extreme. People can sanction anyone, can sue anyone that you're not allowed to use my instruction set or our instruction set as a country. And then people just, because of it, and their business or whatever, just had to be killed off. Just like ARM suing Qualcomm, even two big companies so big. So used to be the partner, and now they becomes enemy. So that is the another fundamental is that because it's an open standard, anyone is free to use.
Yeah.
You don't have any of those string to attach to it.
So it's almost, when we look at the kind of, not to get into politics ever, but the situation with hardware where countries are battling each other, tariffs are flying around, people are banning certain things from going on. The consumers end up missing out in a lot of cases, especially on this closed architecture stuff where they can say, hey, you can't use this architecture from NVIDIA, or you can't use this architecture from AMD or whatnot. But RISC-V, because of its open nature, is kind of immune to that. However, the current state of AI and all of these AI factories and all of this usage of all the parts and everything for AI, we were talking before the show that this is creating an issue where we can't develop. You can't really get RISC-V developed like we used to be able to, meaning costs of RAM have gone through the roof. Fabrication space to even fabricate these have been minimized because all the big companies are creating GPUs for AI and all the space is pretty much taken up. Is this the darkest moment? Because my question for you was going to be, what was the darkest moment you faced with RISC-V development? Is this the darkest moment right now?
It might be, huh?
Well, I would say that it's indeed, it probably is the darkest, and probably we have to say that probably is the longest as well. And before the shortage hit, I think it's because there's a supply demand, the whole supply chain not just to it, and because of AI, and probably just like the time like year 2000 or the stock companies and on the telecom industry, the whole supply chain is not just to such your exponential growth on AI and on silicon is such a capital investment, very heavy industry. And I don't think the supplier is the manufacturer is it is as the gut or even the capital in expanding their manufacturing capacity will lack more because AI is not reaching a state that stabilize because it's just exponential growth and you don't know when it's for. That will cause a lot of difficulty of the new entry of the silicon. Like RISC-V. Because RISC-V is, you say darkest moment, I think every year we have different darkest moment. I tell you all the stories. And when we first make the RISC-V laptop. And the darkest moment is that the hardware the hardware was the test chip of the RISC-V SoC. And at that time, I was no experience on hardware, and I didn't know so important that uh, a test chip usually is not to make into a mass-produced consumer electronics. And as a result, the test chip from IP company is not a proper SoC company, and we make the decision wrong. And then later on, we dropped that decision to using the test chip and move back to a 20 nanometers associated with RISC-V. And every year I hit different darkest moment for that time. It's why I never foresee that. And then the second year is finally we make the hardware, we find out all the software, all the OS is so bad. And there's no official OS supports RISC-V except Linux kernel. Even Debian at that time is not born into support RISC-V natively or on the mainline. So the second year is OS. At the third year is we move on to we have that's A core RISC-V. I think we got better RISC-V, and then we find it out. We got some support on the OS side, and then we find out there's no application around it that much. People can't use it that much except with Command Pro. And every year we see very different darkness moment. And then after the fourth year, now we into RISC-V, and then a 3 or 4 generation of our laptops. And we find a way around it, but we find that we hit another issue. So we make the AI PC. We found that another problem is that, and there's we have some applications, but they use the AI, but on the cloud side, but not locally. So we find just different darkness moment on every year. And then after that, now we make it into a really usable RE23 16 core main board for framework. But we hit all the shortage of the DDR. It just the whole supply chains go bananas.
Is RISC-V have any ability to circumvent some of that supply issue by being able to utilize like DDR4, maybe even going back to older supplies of certain things because of its open architecture? Or is it stuck in the same, it's going to have the same problems everybody else is going to have throughout?
I think it's going to have a similar problem to all other architectures. And I think the RISC-V and why people are adopting it, because they have less we call it technical debt on the new track. So you will see that x86 Intel or AMD, there's not much the AI related things that are built into their SoC, their CPU. Except they don't have matrix multiplier instruction. They cannot be customized into their CPU. All they can do is do a AI accelerator, the way that exactly the same as NVIDIA or AMD does. And Intel completely lose on those aspects. And on ARM, same similar, because the way is they already occupy certain industry. It doesn't need AI. It doesn't need customer instruction or whatever that. But RISC-V is just independent opportunity. They don't have a technical debt, and they have a flexible architecture. And now RISC-V meets AI. And it originally, before we know the whole semiconductor shortage, on the DDR, we always say the AI is it's born into to RISC-V to attack the new industry, and we didn't think that much that will before we saying that the shortage is just probably is not that serious. We can squeeze our a bell and probably we can still find something that fit into uh, our volumes. But we see it now is getting it's a very embarrassing situation for RISC-V. It's new, the volume is not high, and then we got the price of the whole solution is probably, and we guess probably three, three times more than the ARM or x86 because they have very big volume compared to RISC-V.
Yuning, I've actually been following deep computing for quite some time, and I know I was really excited when I heard that you were partnering with Canonical back in June of 2024, and it was amazing. I know how the development was slowly creeping on because part of the reason was you didn't have support in the Linux kernel. And I know in Linux kernel 6.14 that was released in March 2025, you finally got that support for your Roma laptops. And then you made the announcement for your Linux tablet as well. And that's when, everything started coming together and you finally got that full Linux kernel support. That was very exciting for me as an enthusiast.
Yeah, indeed. Every milestone is before we solving that, it was the darkest moment at that time. But we find it now, and every year have different darkest moment.
I love that you took us through that history of all the dark moments because it's very, at some point I do feel like we're going to be look back at RISC-V and it's just going to be a part of our lives. But it's important to understand the journey to getting there and that it's not all, hey, I started this company, now I'm rich, yay, everything works perfectly for me. It's all of these hurdles, and my gosh, the hurdles you've overcome already were monumental, and now you've got to deal with the supply chain disaster that's killing the consumer. Whether they're RISC-V or anything else, they're killing the consumer's ability to have their own computers, to build their own systems, to build their own RC cars. Even this supply chain disaster is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, we had some of this during cryptocurrency where it was hard to get some GPUs. We've had certain parts that were hard to get at times, but never everything at once, just skyrocketing and through this. So, I mean, please stick with it. We'll get through this one too. But I guess I'm happy you're the person on the mission because clearly through all of these dark times, you've continued to persevere and come over it. And hopefully this one passes sooner rather than later as well.
Yeah. And Yuning, I wanted to get into a little bit of history of RISC, and you can tell us what some of the differences are between, say like a DEC alpha. So, for instance, as someone who has been using RISC computers since the 1980s for animation and rendering, that was what my industry was for many, many years and still is, but I'm a retired professor and a freelance animator, and I've worked on movies and TV and since the 80s. So, since the 80s doing animations on computers such as the Silicon Graphics workstations, the Sun Microsystems workstations, and DEC Alpha workstations. All of those I have here at my house. I not only collect vintage computers, but I was using them in my production to produce animation. And as a result of that, I'm just very excited about the future of RISC-V and the efficiency and power that its modern architecture can, bring to computers today. So my question for you is, and I know a lot of people in the audience will enjoy hearing your answer on this. What are the major differences between the RISC processors of the big iron days of computing that were used in Sun Microsystems, IBM, and Digital Equipment Corporation's mainframes, and differences between them and today's open source RISC-V? There's a lot.
I think in technology wise,
Mhm.
there isn't any major difference. You might have one a 10% difference or along the way, and
Mm,
and it's not about the technology differences, except one is old, one is new. One
mm,
is catered for at that time the industry, just like silicon graphics. Uh,
yeah.
uh, RISC is come in the beginning of MIPS,
Yes.
right? So,
Mhm.
and all these very, we call it very vertical optimized architectures,
Mm.
MIPS, and then they bought silicon graphic board MIPS, and then they start
Yes.
using it and build into the stations, the same as Sun Micro and 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 all this in the old days. Everything they make, it's a vertical optimized, same as Apple, very similar to Apple.
Mm.
And they make their product, they make their CPU, they make probably GPU, and then they make their own OS. Everything they make everything themselves by one company,
Mm.
and optimize it, and then sell a very very costly architectures onto consumer products. So you will see that back in that day, buying a Sun Micro is quite expensive. I
Yes.
think I remember over $10,000, right?
$10,000.
And for,
Yeah.
yeah, probably more than that. I don't know. I remember I bought a second hand one. Is more than $3,000,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Easily.
and
Yeah.
there's a very close ecosystem. And then they got killed by Intel and Windows. We call it half open partnership in the computing industry alliance. Intel builds CPU and Microsoft builds OS, and then Dell, and at that time it's a lot company, Dell, Compare, or whatever. They build the hardware. They make everything cheaper by standardized them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I remember back in that day, I got a Pentium. It's only probably less than $1,000. So you can
Yes.
see it's 10 times cheaper.
Yes. And so is RISC-V. Thank goodness.
And all we can see that say in we hoping in seeing the arm, right? So back in that
Yeah.
time, the whole product is from 10,000 into less than 1,000, and now we see you got the arm, you can as cheap as $100.
Mhm.
Mm.
So you
Mhm.
will see the whole shift of the cost efficiency is 10 times less, 10 times less, so that they can get massive scale across the globe
Mm.
and get popularities. So, and for RISC-V one, as I said, it's not much of the technology differences.
Mm.
It's all about accessibilities
Oh, okay.
for the young generations, because still, as you talk about your old days, and I talk about old days back in Xerox.
Yes.
We all thing is just pretty similar to human. We get old, we die off, and then anything attached to the young generations, the more people touching it, the more people learn about it, and it becomes the future.
Mm.
Mhm.
And same as Linus, they grow up from the students.
Yeah.
And same as ARM. from Manchester University, which are now we mostly sponsor their some of the doctor degree that we're interested in. So all from schools. School guarantee the next generations to assess the technologies, and now and RISC-V is the same. And just like my 10 years old daughter, and because I do so much of for RISC-V and framework and open stuff, and she get to know all these things much
Oh, that's
much
good.
earlier, much earlier age.
Yeah, she'll be
That
way
is,
ahead.
yeah, so that they will understand. They got attached to, and because they grow their way out, and then along the growth of five, and that represent the future of it. And and you will see as I met Jimmy Taylor quite often. We see that all the closed system, it will die out one day. It's just a matter of uh, my human's DNA. It's a matter of time. But we will find the open thing is prevails much more longer.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we often
So that is
call
the reason.
yeah,
That's the
we
difference.
often call RISC-V the Linux of hardware, right? It's the open source version of the hardware. For regular user, though, that goes out there, they're used to their AMD, they're used to their Intel. Why do you think what would be your case to say why it's better that it be open rather than having a chip owned by a giant corporation out there? What would be your pitch to someone out there?
And I think is uh, after years in RISC-V, I start understand um, and probably it just like technology usually serve the economies and serve the another point of human civilizations that and opens always better than close in human civilizations that. And for example, I always say that if we as a human, if we get locked up in the room, and we either become a genius or becomes a devil because we close ourselves up. We can't learn something out of someone. We can't see the sun. We can't we can share. We can we don't learn compromise. We don't learn and work together, and we don't uh, uh, a lot of things that we don't have for the openness. So that we from that point of view, and I would say that open and is it's something that uh, we since a kid, first thing we open ourselves up, go to school and learn something from the teacher. If the teacher wasn't open enough, they won't teach you a lot of things. I think Jill, you said you've been a professor before. You know
Yes.
how good you feel that you teach some the young kids. They know more than you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you learn from them. That was one of my joys of teaching,
Yeah,
is learning from
exactly.
my students, and
Yeah,
that's
you
what it's all
teach them.
about. You learn from each
Yeah.
other.
You learn from each other. The first thing is the fundamental thing of human is open,
Yeah, openness.
right?
Mhm.
And why all the we call it the giant corporation? Why they got become so big, like Apple's? Because they vertically optimize and make their margin is much higher than anyone else, and they use the dominance to kill further on future innovations.
Yeah.
Because there's such a close system that and you so focus on making money.
Yep.
Instead, embrace the innovation. I would say come and go future. People doing things differently and innovative in different innovation. Right. So, and you think about it. When I joined Xerox, who can who can imagine Xerox will die one day, but actually die? Can you believe that?
I
No
know,
one believes
that's
that.
amazing. Yeah,
No one believes that.
I actually live by one of the headquarters of Xerox.
Yeah,
So
we call
I've had a lot of friends
Rochester,
because I'm
right?
in yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
We call Eastman Kodak and Webster Rochester, right? So it
Yeah.
just one time you have two giant operations, they all die because of the matter of the fact that they cannot embrace future innovations. And
Yeah.
most of the time, because you're so dominant in one thing, you are in getting the role of the future new things. Is
Mhm.
it exactly the same as human? You know,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
get we learn something, we grow so old, we become so stubborn, we don't new learn thing anymore, and we die out. Exactly the
Aw.
same. So I would say that from whether it's technology or whatever, I like openness that is fundamental of human compared to other animal species.
I love that.
That,
Absolutely.
that is my feel. And you might think that I'm very philosophical, but I think we're down to the basics of our DNA.
I
Openness.
think the philosophical discussion that we're having is why we're all in Linux. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone has
exactly
their
the
exactly.
same.
different
Open
reasons
source.
for why they got into open source, but what keeps you here
Yeah.
is that philosophy of, hey, I want to close the digital divide. I don't want the next generation of directors, the next engineers, the next songwriters, and everyone to be restricted because they don't have access to a computer. They don't have access to the internet. They don't
Yeah,
have access to the expensive software and these
yeah,
expensive monthly fees. And that's why we stay and become so passionate about Linux, is not because it's just a great operating system. It is, but it's what it can bring to the world that makes us exciting. And RISC-V
Mhm.
is that for hardware, but I think the challenge with hardware is it's this physical thing that has to be created. And in this current environment, all the big corporations have taken up all of the space for manufacturing. And as a result of building all of these factories for AI, water, electricity, cost of everything shooting through the roof, and squeezed out anybody's ability like RISC-V to be able to mass manufacture right now at this moment. Um, Eventually,
Mm.
that has to shift back. But it amazed me to watch CES this year and see that AMD and Nvidia basically talked nothing about consumer. Not basically, they didn't talk anything about anything consumer. Like they could care less. And it's all about their enterprise AI offerings and all of this stuff. And it's just a weird. I've been in hardware. I grew up building computers with my dad. I've been in hardware my whole life. I ran a podcast on this network called Hardware Addicts, where we just talked and geeked out about hardware. I have a RISC-V tattooed on my arm that I showed you earlier. This circuit board is a RISC-V
Isn't that cool?
board. Obviously, the tattoo artist took some liberties there, but this was based off of a RISC-V product. That's how much I love hardware. But I've never seen the environment like this, where I feel like for the first time, the world is moving us away from being able to physically build. And all we're going to have is these edge devices from big corporations that are just going to connect to this AI slop. And that's all we're going to have left if things continue the way they are right now. Do you feel that this is going to end, that we're going to overcome this, or is this the big plan from corporations to just squeeze out the remaining little guys?
I would think that, right? And I think by the nature of the 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 earth or the animal species, we think human is very strong, and we squeeze a lot of things. But you can find that little species still survive. So, and it's up to whoever do this fight that navigate through the way for their survival. And no matter how hard it is, and whoever driving with fire, and as a company, as a startup, as a religious tech person, and they embrace risk fire, and they have to have the courage to find their own way to survive. And you can take the opportunity of AI and how you compete with the big boys in terms of the efficiency, in terms of the whole solution price, or in terms of whole services along the life cycle. And it's a flexible way to make this thing works. But how it's going to be, I don't know. Serious, I don't know.
Yeah.
I see it with fire. It's just like the start of Linux back in 30 years ago. No one think about Linux is that big. You telling me how difference between Linux and Unix? Is it better? I doubt it. Right, technology wise. But what makes Linux still survive at that time with a Windows squeeze, with Unix squeeze, with all the lawsuit against all the GPL open source projects, but it did manage to survive.
Yeah.
All right, and people, I think big corporation to chase profit, but when a big corporation reaches state, they're so big, they only can do big things. They can't do small thing anymore. There's no internally, they have no process of how ROI, and their efficiency of development is very low. I'll give you an example, right? And why we partner with Framework. And in that we focus on, I just did computing at probably around 20, 30 people. Probably along my invested portfolio, we have 50 people. But we are very efficient, very focused. We do things faster than the big corporate. I hate things, a big corporate that do things very slow and very not innovative. That's just not human, And the efficiency is far lower. We make when the chip comes back, we make into mass productions for those very strong in solutions. And then we only take us 4 months to make into a mass produced main board. That is the speed of it, of a new thing, doing a new thing in a new way. But for big giant corporation, I don't think Nvidia can do that at all, or AMD can do that at all.
No.
What? So we and then for this fight, whoever driving in whatever industry is, and whoever the leader is, they have to find a way to survive. And for us, deep computing, I think because we're doing with fire, and you somehow, I feel that it's just like Linux. You into a point that you have so much support from all different industries in very small volume that accumulated together to make you survive.
Okay.
So you're basically
So
saying
that's how I see it.
you can move faster, you're going to be able to move quicker than these giant corporations, and then there's the
Yeah.
passion behind everyone who's involved that are going to push us through this phase, this barrier that we currently have in front of us. And I love
Yeah,
that. I love
exactly.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think the break even point. We say that each company or team they have a break even point, make it RISC-V as a business. And at that point, it takes time. And
mhm.
I still remember the computing in the first year. I remember there's a lawyer writing a letter to RISC-V International saying that Yuning and deep computing is a scammer. It's lucky that whatever I do is triggered by RISC-V International.
Hmm.
And,
Hmm.
you know, we take years to build credibilities. And we had to, after that, and you will get support from the world, that a lot of people that mm, not always like Intel, not always like not always like big corporate stuff. They have
Mhm.
extra resource to support you in certain industry because you're so open, because you're so credible, and
Yes.
because the ecosystem you embrace, we call it the best hardware for Linux
Love it.
Yeah.
without anything close. That's what we think, and then that will give you an industry that support your survival.
And in fact, that actually kind of answered a question the next question we had for you is, Intel and ARM have a 40-year head start. And why is now the right time for RISC-V to finally challenge them? Well, what you were just talking about is exactly the reason why it's time to challenge them.
I
Mm.
think that's just the spec in 30 years ago. Why Linux travels? They make a Linux that can challenge Unix and Windows.
Yeah.
You ever
Yeah.
imagine with the less resource they have? And the other example is VLC. I become a good friend of Sean Baptiste, who's the president of Video Van Foundations, and same as the media player. Why open source well?
Videoland. Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly the same. It is a painful. It's a painful that you give up money for your principle.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Very
can
interesting.
and same as Linus, yeah. And
Oh,
and
yeah.
and and Videoland have a motto, and Jean Baptiste have a motto in his interviews. Money is a gel, so they will lock you up, and one day you will die with it.
Wow.
Mhm.
So
You know,
whether to believe it and leave the history to conclude that. So I would say that why RISC-V? I think RISC-V coming along. I tell you what, why. I think it's part of uh, historic transitions of human politics.
Mhm.
mm,
Mhm.
It wasn't at that time. I think if a global trade continue like that, I don't think they have. I don't think this fight have such a progress in such a short time. I remember. I made the first 64-bit mobile phone when I was in Huawei back in 2014. Took
Oh, okay.
how long? How long?
Yeah.
Literally, I was in Nokia in year 2005 until 2015. You think about how long? Literally 10 years to turn on to have so I have 64 bit.
mm,
But for take a look with five, and also from the what from 65 nanometer all the way to 12 nanometer for ARM literally is 20 years.
wow.
For RISC-V is 45 years,
Mm.
Yeah, under 5
right?
years. I know, and that is so amazing. That shows the
Yeah,
progress of the development on hardware and the Linux kernel being able to catch
yeah,
up.
just 5 years. You ever believe that? Me, just in this industry, is less than 5 years. I experienced the
Yeah.
kernel support, the hardware from 4 core 20 nanometer to now 16 core with 12 nanometer, and with all these things embraced to it. So the speed of it, you will see why it's now. I think it's because the time that and I don't know. It's probably the human side of it.
How quickly
Chinese
you can
expression.
move.
Yeah, it's just amazed. I was amazed by the progress I made. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I started in RISC-V. I have no way understand how do I break even. But while I enter in 2026, I'm seeing that deep computing is entering into a break even business, and
That's
that becomes
fantastic.
Amazing.
you can survive. And then we can put more resource in solving all the problems, unsolvable problems. Right. So it's about the time. I will say that the time, as I say, the global politics, the trend, and all the big driving focus on the enterprise AI. They get all other things. They don't make money, and then we gradually and give room for RISC-V to survive. I don't know what is it, and I do not know. Uh, uh, the certainty of it. But one thing is certain: whatever we do in this kernel, I think they have already experienced. All we had to do is keep being survive.
Yeah. Keep supporting it, keep pushing. You've pushed for a standard called RVA 23. For our audience, how does this standard finally make RISC-V laptops feel as smooth and compatible, say, as a Mac or Windows PC? Because I've played with different RISC-V boards that I could get a hold of. I was just looking here. I've got a Pine 64 RISC-V board. I've had some Banana Pis, some other things, and they're the older kind of versions or less advanced versions of RISC-V. But this RVA 23, this is different, right? This means that it could be just as competitive with the latest Intel or AMD, or feel at least the same.
I would think that we call it the minimum standard for RISC-V. RISC-V been full 15 years, and last year was 15 years anniversary. So the standard mainly a set of instructions that are documented and implemented, and RV23 literally give the whole RISC-V ecosystem saying that let's focus on one thing, because we do not have the resource along our ecosystem much more than our competitor like x86 and ARM. Probably we probably 1/10 of their resources across the whole ecosystem to make this fight into a reality. So it gives us a signal to all the partners saying let's focus on one thing instead of fragmenting ourselves, right? And from the OS point of view, can you tell me, and take a look on Nicole, take a look at Fedora and Red Hat, how many fingers we have to contribute on this part? We are not having many fingers or hands. Let's focus on when OS image support all the hardware.
Yeah.
So exactly the same, all the vendor SoC side said, okay, let's forget about differentiate first, because we don't have the resource to differentiate in terms of instruction set. Let's remain a standard, a minimum standard that our chipset support. And then so that the software ecosystem guy can, based on it, to grow. And then a matter of fact, the focus, I would say that is a focus telling the world, let's focus, the RISC-V world to focus on one foundations. Then people can build on top of it. And then besides that, you can make customer instructions for different industry. Feel free to do it. And you can so use in a modular way, of OS to support it, right? So that is the purpose of RV23, a minimum standard as a basic foundation for all the partner come together and make a full solution of RISC-V and minimum solution of it, and using the limited resources.
Yeah, it's so much better to have everyone on board on the
They're
same.
all different, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Konako making you bundle saying which one I should support to. I only have 10 guys. Can you tell me where's what?
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Yeah. So, Yaning, you chose to build a main board for the Framework 13 laptop. Why is modular hardware the perfect home for an open architecture like RISC-V?
Oh, it's another thing that, man, I used to, well, we make 2 generation of our laptop ourselves. Oh my God. It was horrendous, tiring, because my dream is to try to make this related stuff into realities. I find it now, David, anything related to RISC-V probably of a laptop probably is 1% of it. The rest, 99%, is nothing to do with RISC-V.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what that point is, I need a laptop. I have to spend 99% of RISC-V and related resources, which I have nobody interested in, for 1% of my interest.
Mm-hmm.
So and with the volume we have, it is very difficult to survive. So I giving up by saying that I'm not going to do my whole laptop. I have no interest on the screen, the keyboard,
Yeah.
battery, the chassis. I have nobody interest, right? So and
Mhm.
and I don't know. Sometimes your life, you will find that you're destined to become a partner of someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like you having your couple, it's your framework is formed in 2001 or 2002, very similar to the time that DeepComputing or RISC-V of getting into the laptop space. And actually, modular hardware isn't a new thing.
Yeah, I know it's
You
been
and you
around a
and
while. It's
yeah,
just having a company that's able to build around it in efficient ways. It's just taken
yeah.
a while to do that.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better partner.
Yeah.
Framework is, in my opinion, when we talk about open, we talk about free, we talk about what's better for
Sustainable.
humanity, sustainable. Framework is the only laptop company I'm aware of that is focused on making your system completely repairable, completely upgradable, which is reducing
Mhm.
e-waste. And we can see, people are throwing away circuits. I saw at CES they were making popsicles that could play music inside your mouth,
Yeah.
like little candy. And I'm like, there's a circuit in there. So once the candy's over, what do people do? They throw it in the trash. Like
Yeah.
we've got so much e-waste going on around the world. And then you have someone like Framework who's like, hey, you don't have to throw away the whole laptop every time you want to upgrade. We'll make things modular. It was a perfect relationship for you guys to
Yeah.
make that relationship with Framework. And by the way, for those who want to support deep computing, you can go on their site. Everything's sold out pretty much, but you can get the Framework's main board and stuff in there. And you can also get some other cool gadgets. But as far as like the laptops and other stuff, a lot of that stuff is, I know, sold out right now because of of course, there's a huge crunch
Yeah.
Yeah.
with all the
You
hardware
think
limitations
about
and
it,
stuff.
a modular thing is part of the openness.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
you
exactly.
you
Yeah.
you openness is you remember why Intel can beat Solaris and
Mhm.
or Sun Micro or Silicon Graphics, right? The SGI, right? How they build it? Because they build PC. PC
Mhm.
literally is a modular hardware back in that day.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. There's
Yeah.
not much, right? Because why I can't build into the why I get into laptop first? Because I think is I enter into uh, a new segment better than the old segment. So when I do a new thing, we have to get into a new thing, new trend along that way instead of an old trend. So I didn't focus on making mini ITS ball, blah, 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 all these things because it's so old fashioned. So if for Whisper get into that PC, it's really hard, very brutal hardware competitive.
Yeah.
It's not good for Whisper. But I partnered with Framework in the new domain of modular laptop. The world was only number one and only one. It's a perfect partner into a new stage, right? And they're very complement to each other. And Framework needs the ecosystem, and Whisper needs the ecosystem. And then we close the community together, make the community bigger.
I love it. I couldn't have picked a better partner for you.
Yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
you're just saying that your life destinated with that time. If there's no framework, probably I will be the guy. Deep computing will be the guy to make another framework style.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
Because I have no other way, better way of doing this.
Yeah.
Well, it was always the right way to build a laptop. It's the way that all the big companies should have always built a laptop. And what's funny is instead of that, all the big companies started making their stuff less repairable, more
Soldered
glued
on.
down, more soldered on, more inaccessible for people. And what they don't understand is that my love for hardware didn't come from reading about it in a magazine or watching it in a video. It came from being able to physically hold it and build it with my dad. And when you take that away, then we have what you call the throwaway generations, where every time something breaks, they just throw it in the trash. And the passion to ignite the next architect, the next person who's going to make the next framework company, the next deep computing company goes away. It never happens because nobody gets to physically touch what's inside the machine anymore and wonder, how does this thing work? And so I'm so happy framework exists. I'm so happy deep computing exists. I'm so happy you exist to bring this passion and things back to people, because we're going to lose generations of innovation if we don't get back to doing more of what you and frameworks and other companies are starting to come in and say, hey, enough of the soldered on junk, enough of the closed source stuff. Let's build this for humanity,
And it's so sad because I have an Asus Republica Gamer 17.3-inch laptop. It's coming on 10 years old, but I was able to upgrade the GPU. I could replace the GPU in it, upgrade the RAM, even put in a new motherboard in it if I wanted, and more storage. And after that generation, it just completely stopped.
Yeah,
It was
good luck
all
finding an
soldered on.
Asus laptop now to do that.
I know. So as Yuning was saying earlier, I mean, modularity of course, in PCs and being able to build your PCs has been there for years, but it was there in laptops too at one time.
Yeah, true.
And then it went away. But now we have, Framework, a company like Framework that came in and said, hey, we're going to do that even better. And that's going to be our whole paradigm for how we work.
Yeah.
It's not. I think the modular laptop isn't a new thing. Back in IBM,
Yeah, IBM.
back in the old day, you can replace the
We had
battery,
some.
you can replace the CD-ROM, you can change it to a floppy. The only thing you can't change
PCM
it
and
is
CIA and all that. Yeah, we used to be able to interchange all that.
Yeah, but it's because the vertical optimization get the price down, and then they lose their pick of it. And also I think for the PC, the desktop, it is we see the trend is uh going down. So every year, desktop has less volumes,
Yeah.
and but for bringing back to laptop, a modular laptop
Yeah.
is a growing numbers
Yeah.
because of the and we can make laptop much more affordable across the time uh, uh, than like Apple or other Dell laptop or Lenovo laptops or HP
Mhm.
laptops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see that, for example, we look at the number. We see that if we hit 100,000 or 500,000, the price of making a framework laptop will be very similar price as any of the HP, Dell, or Lenovo's laptop price. And also, it will last pretty longer
Yeah. Yeah.
over all the time. So we need to find a model that let people understand the philosophy side of it.
So, Yanning, if we were to meet again in 10 years, what is your dream for RISC-V and deep computing?
Oh, I don't know. Probably I just start thinking in that, and how Azure, just now, Jill, you talk about Azure. Azure is just a PC motherboard manufacturers. Probably in 10 years time, I might still be doing that for laptops.
Love it.
Nice.
And probably I make one third of the motherboard across all the computer segment. One third of them might be ARM, one third of them might be still x86.
Hmm.
And I think framework probably growing much bigger, probably 1 million to 10 million sales every year. And the whole DIY trend and environmental friendly will be bigger.
Mm.
So I will be happy about that. I don't know whether we're going to enter into mobile
Mm.
server side. I don't know. Probably still, we might try it, but and I don't know we're going to get into that because to B is much harder than to C. B to C is much more easier.
Mm.
That's my dream. My dream
Interesting that you
always
think
take one third.
cellular's more
Yeah.
difficult to get into
Yeah.
than PC, because you would think people would be more open, a little bit cheaper than in some cases to their cell phone. But you think that's more difficult to get into that market, maybe more competitive or closed down?
Yeah, I think in the mobile is hard. We think hard is because RISC-V doesn't have two things. One does efficient GPU, and the other thing is the modem. So I don't know.
Mhm.
Mobile will be hard,
Yeah.
and anything other than that, I think we still aiming at. And I always talking about what's the dream of RISC-V, one third of the ISA. So one third of the world people
Mhm.
can build their own CPU. I hope at that time the FPGA much more better. And
Mm.
probably we have a 12 nanometer, 6 nanometers FPGA that people can just build their CPU themselves at home. And
Wow.
then and if that works, that will be amazing. Right.
So
So and one third of the ISA, that's my dream.
I love it. I love your dream.
Awesome.
I want to be a part of your dream too.
Yeah.
Um, our audience is full of incredibly intelligent and energetic people, obviously very energetic around open source and open technologies with various backgrounds of all types. If they want to help get involved, they want to share in this dream that you just talked about and help that come true. what's the best thing they can do to get involved either with deep computing or with RISC-V? How can they help?
Oh, I think tell you we have RV23 main board coming up. Is first I ever think about is a usable Linux um, laptop. Before that, if the performance is not good enough and the software is not optimized, it's hardly usable. It's for friends to learn something about RISC-V. And then from this year onward, I think people can contribute. I don't know what is the best way. People can buy things from deep computing and trust computing, have deep computing or framework to survive. Because we are very religious, right? So I'm losing a war. To be honest, I think as you guys saying that I have a slogan: whoever want to try losing money, do this five. So and I don't know what's the best way. I think we're saying that is using and let us know the problem, and not more than that, enjoy us to help them make it better.
Yeah, and spread the message, right?
Because
Like you are.
because I think on the other day I had a talk with my internet CEO. If I can get out deep computing, get out of the money losers, we certainly will contribute back more to the RISC-V international foundations. Whether we're going to build another non-profit organization to 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 make sure whoever contribute will getting something back. For example, like deep computing, you buy the first generation motherboard, we always give you a discount, a very heavy discount on the last generation. Basically, we selling a ball, we selling the pricing at ball to give it to the loyalty, to give it to the loyal fans who help us more. Right. So that is the thing is using it is very important. Not just talk about in using it and let us know what the problem is, and let us know what is the next darkest moment, and we will try our best to fix it, and together with all the fans.
I love it.
And exactly the same as Linux kernel. There's not much difference.
Yeah.
Not much,
That's what's interesting. Is very similar to when people ask to get involved in an open source software project. The same thing. Use it, report bugs with it. You find ways to help, even if it's building instruction sets or getting on forums and helping other people overcome their issues. Like these are things that are huge help to making something like this successful. Well, Yuning, you've made it through the easy questions. Those were the easy ones. That was kind of a warm up. Hopefully you're feeling warmed up. Now comes the lightning round. So this is the gauntlet of fun questions we like to ask in every interview. And the goal is to answer the questions, as quickly as you can. The first thing that comes to your mind, there's no right or wrong answer here. And I'll start and then we'll take turns. Jill, what is your go-to snack or drink when you're working late on a hardware design or hardware issue?
What? I know buffalo chicken wings.
Ah, nice. Chicken wings, always a good one.
Awesome. What is your favorite sci-fi movie, and does it inspire any of the hardware you build?
Movie. Matrix.
Matrix.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's one of our
choice.
favorites too.
Yes.
You know why? It's Matrix multiple instructions.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
There you go. What was the very first computer you ever owned?
It's TI.
Nice.
Oh, sweet. Besides a RISC-V laptop, what is the one piece of tech you never travel without?
Apple.
Oh, okay.
So you know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna build deep computing for the less Apple.
Yes.
From
Love
a
it.
zero sky and make it into with a whisk. I do convince I think I remember sending an email to Tim saying that you should work on RISC-V. I also said to Jensen Wang you should support RISC-V just for the humanity.
I love
I
it.
don't know whether they
Yeah.
listen or not. I don't know. I don't know whether they understand it yet. I don't know. Probably
What
they're
what
busy on making money instead of serving the humanity.
Yes,
what's
yes.
interesting is I watched an interview with Jensen, and he was talking about his origin story. And he was talking about a point in NVIDIA where basically they had a partnership with Sega and they were not able to deliver. But if they returned the money, NVIDIA was going to go bankrupt. And the Sega VP took mercy on him and basically, didn't let him keep the money, but didn't ask for the money back right away, and instead took, I think, a percentage in the company, which they later sold well before they should have. But the point is that there was a point when NVIDIA was on their knees, hands and knees, begging for people to help them. And I hope Jensen does look at RISC-V and does look at the work that you're doing and give that same grace that he was given to some of the others out there, because without it,
I'm sure.
NVIDIA would have
Yeah.
never been there.
Yeah.
And I hope that he's not forgetting it.
Yeah. Are
Mhm.
you a clean desk person or a messy desk person with wires everywhere?
I think I've been trained by my wife. I become clean.
Clean,
That's
good.
I
perfect.
love it. I love it.
I have
Listen,
two sides of it. One side is very messy with all the papers, not wire. One side is that is very clean.
I love it. You're
Nice.
kind of a combo of both there. Listen, I want people to know, first of all, that this is probably 1 a.m. now for you. Is
Yeah,
this
or
about 1
past.
o'clock in the morning? Past 1
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning?
1:30 in
1:30.
Swiss.
So, Yuning, I cannot thank you enough for coming on our show, for giving us the grace of coming on our small show with all the big things that you're doing to get this message out. Thank you for joining us. This is a privilege
Mhm.
for us to hear from you.
Yes.
And Till in our community set this up, and we're so thankful to have the chance to speak with you. You inspire me a lot, and your message, even if people are looking outside of RISC-V, just the fact you just keep pushing and pushing through all these barriers that
Yeah.
keep coming up is inspirational. You're not just building hardware. You're really building the future here, and the future that we're all the people who listen to this show are dreaming about, which is an open source future. And to everyone listening, if you're passionate about free software, you should equally be passionate about free hardware. And Yuning and Deep Computing are proving it's possible. And I think this is just the beginning of this story. So, Yuning, on behalf of Jill, myself, and the entire Destination Linux community, thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts for your time, your vision, and pushing these boundaries, because the world would be a worse place without people like you doing that. So thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for inviting me. And I did watch one session Jill talk about RISC-V. I think Jill mentioned us as well a while back. And it's my honor to join you guys. Have such a nice talk and to express my feelings.
Oh, thank you.
And you becomes a part of deep computing on RISC-V journeys. And then
Aw.
sometimes I think that, and doing startup, people think about probably the outcome more important. I would think that the journey and the people, the companionship, probably uh, one of the most valuable things, more than just the outcome. Thank you.
That hits deep. I agree.
Thank you
We
very much.
actually end every show since we've been doing this 449 episodes end with the journey itself is just as important as the destination. That's how we end every show. So like,
And
it's
nailed it.
perfect. Yeah.
and I added to it the companionship, and you guys is being part of it, and it's probably even more precious.
I love it. I love it.
And we
Well,
want to have you on again soon. Let us know anytime. Just boop us, and we'll have you back on if there's something new you want to share, or just come on and have a nice
yeah,
talk.
we promise it won't be an hour and a half interview next time. You can just join for a little bit and tell us some updates. But
Yeah.
we needed to have your origin story. We needed to get everyone to understand everything at least once. So thanks for bearing with
Yeah.
the long interview, and we're gonna have you back on real soon.
Definitely, when I solve the less darkest moment,
Love it.
that's something to talk about.
Yes,
Thank
Yes,
you
do
very
it.
much.
absolutely.
Take care. Bye, Uni. Before we end the show, I want to give a really special thanks to Till in our community for helping
Aw.
us to get in contact with Yuning for this interview.
Yes.
Check out Till's GitHub page, which we'll have linked for open printing. We also interviewed Till on this very show, another amazing member of this community, but also just a legend in the open source world.
Mhm.
And I just cannot thank them enough for setting this up. And I also have to thank my tattoo artist, because Till and I started talking about RISC-V because of the fact that I have a RISC-V tattoo. And
Yeah.
so that's what started it all. So big thanks to the tattoo artist out there who put this on my arm. Now, a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. Come join us in our Discord at Deviant Airwaves now. If you want to go to deviantairwaves.com, you can check out all of our links to our show. And if you want to support the show, you can go to our Patreon as well. And that all those links will be there on the deviantairwaves.com webpage. And we have 4 tiers you can support us with that have extra goodies for you to enjoy. And Jill created a lot of those goodies. So
Yes.
if you really like those goodies, they're all from Jill's mind there. But we're going to be doing so much, as we talked about in our latest video, with the community, so much more than we've ever done before. And we hope you'll join us on that journey.
And head to deviantairwaves.com to get the links to listen to Destination Linux on your favorite podcasting apps, or the videos on YouTube to keep those Linux penguins marching. And make sure to watch Ryan's Darkenstein 3D game streams live on Sunday mornings or afternoons on his DOS Geek YouTube channel, or you could watch the VODs later, and the other awesome videos he has released recently on his channel, like his The Rise of Microslop, why Microsoft is begging you to stop calling it slop.
That Jill, that video has gone kind of viral.
I
I
noticed.
released it and then I didn't look at it. And a couple hours later, I just opened. It was like 5,000 people in a couple hours. I was like, whoa, people really are into that topic. So appreciate that, and definitely check it out. Until then, everybody have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. And Jill, Yuning also said, and the people you meet along the way.
Yeah, I love that. We should add that to the end.
We really
every
should.
week.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.